Welcome to Hustle Estate from good old New Jersey and Detroit, Michigan. I'm one of your hosts, Isaac Gilman.
And I'm your other host, Ed Hendrickson. Let's talk about your boot camp.
So first thing is that I moved into a software developer position.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So
When did that happen?
technically it happened last Monday, even though I was on vacation. But I interviewed for the position the Friday before I left
At Quicken, or
at Amrock.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like this was a goal of mine for the first quarter. It was a stretch goal for sure because like I had to do a lot of learning. The boot camp that I applied for, like I had deliverables for, and I delivered those on time, and I passed those as well, which I learned a lot while I was doing that. So yeah, I had an interview, basically a software, like this is an quote unquote, an entry level position. I had like a few software engineers in the room, had my leader in the room, had another like software engineer leader in the room. And yeah, I've been like studying. I've been doing a lot of mock interviews the past few weeks. I've been doing a lot of practice. This is not like something that came out of the blue. Obviously I've been wanting to do this, but like I've been really trying to learn technical stuff for the last 5 years. Like it's been a very slow process for me, and a bunch of, I wouldn't call them setbacks, but like one specific, like I applied for kind of a boot camp, but internal, like Quicken Loans is doing like a internal boot camp that you had to apply for and like take an assessment for, and I totally bombed it and they declined me. That was about 2 years ago. Something that I've been like, trying to really push myself to work towards, and I'm at least at the starting point.
It's awesome. So are you still able to do the boot camp even with like the new position? Like
Yeah,
your
so that
little
was
walkabout thing?
Yeah, so that was like part of the purpose of getting into the new position, was that it helps make a better case for me to. I'm taking what they call personal leave. So like a lot of people call it a sabbatical, but basically because I've been at the company for 5+ years, I have the opportunity to take a 90 days off without taking like my pay time off.
Hmm. And are you getting paid for that 90 days again?
No, so I'm
No, okay.
not.
Yeah. They just hold your
So
position basically for 90 days.
Exactly. And so part of that is like now that I got into the position, they'll hold my position. That position will be available when I return. And it has to get approved by like our most senior leaders. Like our CEO has to approve it, basically.
The 90-day
Yeah,
walkabout.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The boot camp is like I got into that.
Yeah.
I even said, and I would do this. Like if the company was like, nope, you're not allowed to go, I would quit. Like to
Yeah.
me, it's worth leaving the company to do this because of the longer term, like strategy involved. Short term there would be pain. I'd have to figure out healthcare for myself, my daughter. I'd have to. I would still not I'd still not get paid, but that's status quo. Hopefully, I'm trying to figure this out right now, but like, so I'm already getting a discount on this because I've gone through boot camp once before, but I am hopefully like Quicken will pay a majority of the rest of the tab on this. So
Because of the new role or because of this process of the sabbatical, in essence?
no, neither. They have an education reimbursement program,
Okay.
and this is falls into that program.
Awesome.
So basically, like you could take college courses, you could do other types of workshops, you could go to conferences, those types of things. Like, and so this would fall into that. So overall, I'm not getting paid, but as long as I stay with my company, the idea is that very little would be coming out of my pocket. The opportunity cost would be just me not getting paid, but they'll
And
still cover healthcare. So like I don't lose my benefits.
so for our listeners, are you doing anything about that? Like, what are you going to do to survive during this period?
Yeah. So I've been budgeting for a long time.
Of course.
Always have. So like I think a really general rule of thumb that Kayla was listening to a book on like finances a few months ago, and they had like a good general rule of thumb, which I generally agree with, which was save $1,000 for like an emergency. That could take some people a long time to do,
Yep.
depending on how much you're making. But once you have that 1,000, then their suggestion is pay off as much debt as possible, like just nonstop. Like they call it, I forget what was it. It was like some sort of focus. I would say it's laser focused. you just every dollar that you can put away after that 1,000 goes towards paying off debt, whether it's like student loans, car loan. Basically the one caveat to that is if you have a mortgage, don't try to pay that off. Because there's tax benefits to it, and they said like ultimately you can pay that off later and still benefit from the tax benefits. But like a car, right? A car loan is essentially, unless it's a very low rate, it's dead money. You can't write it off. You can't really do anything with it other than maybe, just stretch out your payment.
Unless your
Student
business owns that car.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you can write it off, great. You should do that. Similar to your student loans are similar, like student loans are pretty much dead weight. Some student loans, I believe you can maybe do things with, but like for the most part, student loans
You write off the interest, no?
I don't know how that works. I
Yeah,
don't,
I'm not
and
sure.
I don't think it's a substantial amount compared to a mortgage.
Right.
Basically, the government incentivizes you to own a home. They don't incentivize you to take student loans out.
Yeah, and there's probably a lot of government. I mean, I know that there is like FAFSA and all that government subsidiary loans, so they're not like, hey, pay interest and have the right like.
Yeah, and they're not I forget the kind of loan that they are, but they accrue it's the opposite of a mortgage basically.
Yeah.
It's like basically if you're not paying your premium, it's like a credit card. It's like a credit card basically. If you're only paying minimum payments or you're paying under the if you're not like
yeah.
you're ultimately not it's not going away. It's just accruing. Versus a mortgage, you pay that off every time and it has an amortization.
Like negative amortization loan, maybe is the word, but
yeah, I don't know.
But I don't know if it's that either.
Getting back, so they're like pay off all your debt. Once you pay off all your debt, then you can start saving for other things, right? So their next suggestion is save up $20,000. I think it's $20,000 for like a loss of job for 3 months or whatever. So I basically have done most of these things without listening to this book, but when I listened to it, I was like, all right. So for the last,
did you go through this period of paying down debt? I mean, I know you well enough that like you're not the kind of person that has debt, but did you specifically attack these sorts of debt that like, so just because I know you, like, and maybe I'm wrong, I could have a different view, but like you're not the kind of person that has $5, $10, $20,000 in credit card debt, right? Like your debt would be this kind of like, as I will call it, even though it's not in this case, good debt. Like you needed to take debt to go to school, maybe you needed to take debt to get that car so you can transport. Like, did you specifically sit down and say, let me get to zero?
No. While I think this advice is good for those that are starting out to figure out their financial, I think I have considered myself basically good with money. I look at my car loan essentially breaking even with inflation so that it's a low interest. It's low enough in interest that I believe by saving money and putting it into the stock market, I'm actually coming out on top rather than spending it on paying off that debt and not investing in the stock market.
So I've heard people do that with a mortgage as well. I've heard some people have a mortgage that they maybe could pay down, but they have that difference, that equity in essence. It's really not equity. They've kind of taken a mortgage to, and it really isn't done on purpose. It's not like they're like, oh, let me get a 80 LTV loan and play in the stock market. They just,
Yeah. So, I mean, but to be fair, I saved up a lot of money before I ever had a loan on a car. So I was already on top. Like I didn't need. So yeah, I've chosen to not pay off that car loan. I mean, I've paid a few extra payments here and there, but overall, it's not something that's weighing me down. And I will say this. If I lost my job tomorrow and I had to pay off that loan immediately, I could do it.
The car loan.
Correct. So I have the cash. I have pretty much the liquidity to immediately pay it off. It would take a day to transfer money from my savings to my checking account, which is where my car payment comes out of. But within 3 days, I'd be able to pay off my loan completely if I really need to.
And I would argue that would be a bad move to do if you lost your job. But we could.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is that I'm covered on the loan if I really need to. And so so saving for this ability to take 3 months off of work has been something that I've had in my rainy day fund now for a bit. And not that this makes me more job secure or anything, but it does put tools in my tool belt to allow me to have more flexibility within the job market. So if something bad were to happen, I could say to an employer, like, I have not just like one specific set of skills, but I have two sets of skills. So if you need me to be a project manager, I can do that. If you need me to develop code, I can do that. If you need me to do both, I could probably do that. Maybe not well, but it is there. Versus, a lot of people, and a lot of people become experts in those areas, right? I'd like to become an expert in software development, but that'll take some time.
So this has been, it's interesting here, this whole sort of, I feel like, idea behind Hustle Estate has been work your job, kind of do your side hustle, right? How I got to the point where I was, in essence, kind of doing that with rental properties, that you've basically done that now. So you were working your job, you were, saving on the side, and now you're embarking on this isn't definitely not a side hustle, but it is another way to strategize to get to where you want to be for your end goal, right? There's probably a lot of people out there who are software developers and want to be accountants, right? How do you make that transition?
Yeah.
So this is awesome that you're doing that.
I would say also, like, in a bigger, strategy of mine is to either work for myself or work for a company that is more flexible in terms of physical location. And so if, just like you're not tied to a specific place. I mean, I know you live in a specific place and you're not like up and moving all the time, but you have the freedom to, if you're like, I want to do hard money in Wyoming.
I'm trying to do it in Washington right now.
There you go. So, right, you could go out to Washington tomorrow because you don't have to be in an office tomorrow. Your office is where you're, like, wherever you want to work. That's kind of where I would like to go. Is so whether it's developing kind of a portfolio for myself to take on freelance jobs, or to build my own company, or to do a combination of the two, or to like work part-time for one company and maybe receive benefits and then work part-time for myself, right? Those are like combinations that will be available for me in the future as I develop my skill set.
Right. It's awesome. When does the boot camp start?
It starts at the end of April. It's going to be 10 weeks of a lot of work. No vacation time. Like, you're not allowed to really miss a lot. I actually had to decline, like, a group of my friends from college are going to Europe. Well, at least the plan is for them to go to Europe. We'll see with all the virus stuff. But and I had to say, like, no, I can't go. I just came back from some vacations, which I knew that I had pre-planned. So I could have gone through a boot camp potentially this past quarter, but because of those vacations, I said I need to do this. Yep.
How many hours a day are you doing the boot? Like, what is the?
It's 9 to 5.
Okay.
So it's full time. I mean, and they do offer evening boot camps. So like they do offer people that work full time to go to like taking night classes basically. Right. The problem from my perspective is twofold. One, it doubles the length of the boot camp. So instead of a 12-week program, it's a 24-week program, or maybe even 26 weeks. And two, because it's at night, I want to spend time at home.
Right.
I don't want to work 5 days a week and then spend another 3 of those 5 days in learning something for another 4 hours. I guess the third problem would be that's a lot on somebody. While it's totally possible to do,
you probably won't gain. It'll be harder to gain as much from the course too, right? Because you'll be tired from work. Then you have 4 hours of the course, and I assume there's some sort of homework or tasks from day to day, or.
Yeah, it's basically it's like being in college. You're learning stuff, in every day, but at the same time, you're expected to deliver a project at the end of this boot camp. And in order to you can't learn everything, or you can't implement everything you learn. They basically say you're in class for 40 hours a week, but you end up spending about 60 hours a week doing stuff.
Okay.
because there's like a lot of like about 20 hours after the fact of, applying what you've learned and working through problems and, yeah. So
So at
it's
the end of
definitely
this
not
boot
going to be
camp, like,
easy.
what are you able to do? Because my question or my personal concern, like if I were to be doing something like this,
Yeah.
is that how much can you absorb over that period of time, right? Like just 9 to 5 constant. I mean, look, like we didn't go to school from 9 to 5, right? We were in
Yeah,
school from
yeah,
like
yeah,
9 to 3. We went to
yeah.
3 classes. We had lunch. We had a gym class. There was something like there was kind of, it was really probably 2 to 3 hours of serious learning, 3 to 4 hours, I guess, really of serious learning at school. To have an 8 hour day that it's like built upon, I'm sure it's building upon, right? Build upon, build upon, build upon. But like it's a lot to absorb. I mean, that would be like, for me, I don't think I would be good at that.
So yeah, so basically the boot camp puts you in a position to be an entry level software developer, specifically for technologies that build websites.
Okay.
There's a lot of technologies out there that do various things, and this is specifically to learn how to build. And it's not just like any website, but it's websites that are interactive, websites that receive and present data. So, like for instance, if in the hard money project, I believe you had a website built that would like take in loan information, then
Yep.
you and your partner would have kind of like another screen that you would only see, like an admin screen. You would be able to do stuff, and then you'd be able to like send things back out to those loan applicants. Basically, similar premise. I would be able to build not just like something that looks nice, but that is pretty functional for whatever user or whatever problem you're trying to solve.
Hmm.
Even I know I said this to you offline, but like, could I build basically like a program for you to improve, your hard money process? Like that is something that is possible with
I
this
mean,
with
yeah,
these
because
skills.
like, just for example, in the past, few weeks, I've encountered Salesforce, which is a CRM.
Yep.
Salesforce is a, company is CRM, but it's a website. So there's a lot of stuff happening in there. And then another one that someone just put me onto, I'm trying out, is called HubSpot. So that's another,
HubSpot. Yep. Okay.
yeah, free. I mean, they have a very, so there's a lot of like, it's free. However, there's upgrades to,
Sure.
that you can pay for. So there are a lot of websites that aren't just, it's not like you're going to be building the next like, ESPN or something, right? Like you would be
No. No.
building like interactive sites that would potentially be used for, work purposes type of, site.
Yeah, and it would be a lot more basic than ESPN. Like ESPN is something that's probably built by like a team
Yeah.
of maybe 100 people or maybe more. I don't know. I, you know, I would eventually work at a company that is part of a team. I mean, I'm sure I could do it by myself to some degree, but there would be, generally
You'd be building a
speaking,
piece of the website.
yes, it wouldn't be like I build everything.
Right.
Uh,
Dude,
Yep.
that's awesome. It's actually, I'm getting my website rebuilt right now
Uh-huh.
for Though Funding.
Yep.
And it actually has been like a really pleasant experience.
Good.
There's a company that I'm working with right now, and they've like they've redone the way these websites are built. I actually really like this guy's theory behind it. Is like, yes, we can all go on WordPress and play around, and how long will it take me to figure out how to use WordPress and all of this stuff. And then you can, go the route of hiring a virtual assistant to build a website. And every time you need something changed, they're going to charge you $30 or $100 here and there. So they've built a website platform that you can actually edit your own site. So they're hosting your site. You pay a monthly fee for the hosting, but you have access to like their database tool,
Yep.
which is like just super friendly. I mean, I'm not at the point where I'm using it yet. They build the site for you first. They give you what you want, and then you're able to basically go in and say, okay, like I don't like this header. I want to add a new header. I want to change the color of the header. I want to put a new pic. Like you can literally plug and play everything, and probably get to a point where I could probably build a different website myself. But what did I pay them for, right? So you're
Right.
kind of paying them to use their platform to build, and then you can edit. That's obviously not what you're doing, but it made me think of that there's this, you probably would have helped build that tool that they're using.
Yep.
In essence.
Yep.
But
exactly.
Cool, man. Good stuff.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been a while.
So are you in your regular role now?
I am transitioning because my like past role I still am responsible for, but and I'm basically kind of like straddling the line between the two as I hand stuff off to other people and as I get ready for my boot camp.
So are you going to learn anything about the new position? Like, will you start? So first question, I guess, is this role that you're taking on website development?
So yes and no, because our company has multiple different applications. One is a website, one is not a website. It would be basically the skills I will gain will be applicable to anything.
Okay.
Anything like software development related, but my focus would be more on web development, if that makes sense. So like, yep. Right, you're focused on hard money loans, but you can still understand how a regular retail mortgage works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you going to start doing anything with that, even though you haven't hit the boot camp yet by the time boot camp starts?
So I'm going to be learning. So I'm going to be like shadowing with some other software developers. I've already been getting some exercises from one of like my coworkers, basically. So yeah, our code base is very large, so there's a lot to learn.
Dude, this is awesome. I'm really excited about this.
So I'm excited as well, and it's nice to know that like things are falling into place.
I feel like that's how it happens, right? It's with everything. You just like have an end goal and you just start working toward it. And sometimes the goal changes, but sometimes it just takes a long time to get there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, literally in anything you want to do. I mean, you want to get promoted, like you can't just always get promoted overnight. Like you keep doing the things to get to that promotion. Next thing you know, maybe you're, 5 ranks above where you are now.
All right. You want to close it out?
Let's do it. Thanks, guys, for listening. We really appreciate it. If you want to check us out and listen to more of our podcasts, we are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. If you want to contact us directly, you can use our email, which is hustleestate1, that's the number 1, at gmail.com, hustleestate1 at gmail.com. And our social media is Twitter and Instagram, where we are at Hustle Estate. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.